Welcome once again to the Complicated Burrito. Here's your podcast host, Alan Brooks.
All right. Today I'm going to be talking about something that happened to me back in 1999. This is something that shouldn't have happened, but it did happen, and I've only told a few people about this. Some things are hard to understand, hard to explain, and this is definitely one of them. So on today's podcast, I'd like to explain the night that God sent me a messenger. After 2 years of being a member of Rock's gang, I wanted to do something fun. I wanted to do something like I'd never done before. And it was, like 98, late 98. Industrial, goth, and metal was real big at the time. And I was always a big fan of Alice Cooper and Gwar, Kiss, Marilyn Manson, all those kind of groups. So myself, David, Richard, Eric, and Mike put together the Blessed Virgin Larry. This is one of those deals that it seemed like a good idea at the time. We had a lot of fun, and we had some really great music. We put out a couple CDs, three or four different CDs. It was basically all demo work that we released. It was all just demo stuff that we had done, hoping, to get a deal and get into the real studio. I'll do another podcast dedicated to the Blessed Virgin Larry. I don't want to get sidetracked on this podcast with those details. I want to fast forward to the Brass Mug in Tampa, Florida, 1999. We were doing a lot of openers with groups like Hell on Earth, Enemy of God, Diet of Worms. We got hired to do a show at the Brass Mug in Tampa back in 99, and we were hired to open for Daisy Berkowitz, who was the former lead guitar player for Marilyn Manson. And when you're a touring musician, there's certain clubs around the country that are kind of like a badge of honor. You want to play them, like the Grand Emporium. I got to play that in Kansas City before it changed ownership and went to country or whatever. And that was kind of a local legendary club, And the Brass Mug in Tampa is that way too. There's actually video online of us playing that night. If you want to go search, you'll find it. So it's the night of the show. We're at the Brass Mug. The place is packed. Daisy's there. He was outside. I never did get to meet him that night, but it was pure chaos. So we go on and we do our show, and it went really well. And after the show, I always walk around and talk to everybody, out in the audience. It's probably about 11 o'clock by now. Everybody's waiting on Daisy to hit the stage. And, he's still outside getting ready to come on. And as I'm walking around, there's tables inside. There's booths on one side inside the Brass Mug. And I see this older black woman. She was wearing a black dress. She had a cane, and there was a younger man, a younger black man. He was real clean cut, and he was on the other side of the booth with her. They were both wearing all black. He had a crew cut, and he never said one word the whole time. Nothing. He was, in fact, you could tell he was there to protect her. That's why he was there. You could tell. It was almost like he was there to protect her. I followed him outside after we spoke, and even then when I was speaking with her, he was like, I don't know, 10 feet away and just watching us. So let's backtrack to inside the club when I first spotted them. So I'm walking around in the club and I'm talking to people, and I see these two individuals that stuck out like a sore thumb because everybody in there came to see the Blessed Virgin Larry and Daisy Berkowitz. I mean, it wasn't a regular show, and it was late at night, and it was in Tampa, Florida, at this little club that's not easy to find. There was just no reason for them to be there. So anyway, I climbed into the booth with them. They were sitting at a booth up by the front door, and I was trying to small talk with them, with her, but she wouldn't have anything to do with it. She told me that she was there, that she was sent there to give me a message. And the message was that I wasn't supposed to be doing this. I was supposed to be helping people. She told me flat out, you're not supposed to be doing this. You're supposed to be helping people. That was the message. And that's basically all she had to say. And she got up and started heading for the front door. So I followed him outside, and I was trying to talk to her, and I was pleading with her to come to my next show. I didn't understand why she wouldn't talk to me, and why that was it. Once again, she told me that God sent her there to give me that message, and that was it. She was gone. So I thought a lot about her coming there and just the whole experience of what happened, because it was bizarre, to say the least. And I couldn't think of anything I could do. All I could think of was maybe playing my acoustic guitar at like a rest home or something. I was at a loss, how am I supposed to help people? I would think about it every once in a while, a week turned into 2 weeks, and a month, and then a year. And I would think about it every once in a while, but eventually I completely forgot about the whole thing. Now, the band broke up about 2 years later, and I went on to do other stuff. And over the next few years, I kind of kept it alive just on the internet. And, I would shoot a video or something on one of my breaks from touring. I've always been into the rock and roll lifestyle, but when I started into this music, I didn't realize that was a whole different lifestyle. And basically, it wasn't who I was. I was doing it for the music and the show. The people that followed this kind of music, when they went home, they dressed like this, and I took it all off. So eventually I started kind of feeling, I realized that I was going down the wrong path, but it took years to get there. I was actually talking to our old manager up in New York one day, and he told me he was looking at some of the old concert photos, and he actually thought he could see demonic faces in the fog. And that's pretty scary. So we can now fast forward all the way to 2014. I had saved almost $10,000, and I really kind of wanted to go back to when I was a child. I wanted to be a vet, and I loved animals, and I decided I wanted to help animals. That's when I started my own animal rescue called House of Hound. The first year, I ran it out of my house, and I got everything going, got the 501c3 started, got inspected by the state, was learning all the rules, the ins and outs. There's a lot of legalities. And that first year, I rescued about 32 dogs. In 2015, I got a phone call that changed my life forever. And it was a concerned citizen alerting me to the fact that the city of Butler in Bates County, they didn't have the funding to build their own animal shelter, and all the dogs had were being euthanized after their 5-day hold if they weren't picked up. So I got a hold of the city of Butler, Missouri, and I met with the animal control officer, Mr. Roger Cecil, and he worked out a plan with me that I would start coming down every Friday and getting all the dogs that were to be euthanized, and I would take them, bring them back to the city and find them homes. This is Roger and I, the first day that we worked together, and that's our first dog that we rescued. That's Popeye. He is a Great Dane Boxer mix, and he's a very famous Bates County fence jumper. As the months progressed, I realized that I had to make a move, because I was doing all of this out of my house, and I lived up in a little suburb outside of Kansas City at the time, still do. And so that's when I started looking for a building, and I looked for months and months, and the rent on a building is like, whoo! Up in the city, a building can easily lease for $4,000 a month, $3,500 a month, something like that, just way out of the zone. And that's when a building came available in Butler, Missouri, unbelievably enough, right across the street from the actual vet where I was getting all the dogs originally. So it was a real blessing. And so in August of 2015, I moved into the building and started an actual animal shelter in Butler, Missouri, called House of Hound. This is me and Genevieve Burke. She was a huge help for many years, and she helped me assemble a team, and we started renovating the building and getting our inspections and getting the first dogs in. In 2016, we saved 300 dogs that would have been otherwise euthanized. Over the next 4 years, with the help of a lot of people in the community and outside of the community, we saved over 1,000 dogs. At the same time that I was getting the building and driving down every day and remodeling, that's the time that God came into my life. This was all way too much for me. I had no money left by the time I got this building. I spent my the last little bit in my savings and the last little bit in my checking account just to get the keys to the building. I was near suicidal, man. I didn't know what I was going to do. And that's when Jesus came into my life. And I took all of that stress that was on me, and I took it all off my shoulders, and I put it into God's hands. Over the next 4 years, anytime we were running out of money, running low on money, which was all the time, I would pray, and God would always answer my prayers. Plus, we had a great network of awesome supporters. Now, what most people don't know is that during this entire time, we were not only saving dogs, but we were helping a lot of people in the community. And about 3 years into it, something sparked the memory of the old woman that came to me in the club back in 1999. Hebrews 13:2 says, "Do not forget to show hospitality to strangers, for by so doing, some people have shown hospitality to angels without knowing it." It says right in the Bible that angels are among us. Did God send 2 angels to give me a message? I think so. Now, in June of 2019, I started having some health issues, and I realized I was going to have to retire. And so I did my best to turn it over to some local people to continue my mission and my goal for the communities, hoping that it would survive long into the future. If you want to find out what happened to House of Hound after my departure, I'll be doing a future podcast on that topic, and I'll be covering the entire story from start to finish. All right. Well, I really hope you enjoyed the podcast today. God sure does work in mysterious ways, and I'm really happy to have been able to share my story with you. On behalf of Revo 24 Radio, I'm Alan Brooks for The Complicated Burrito.
You're in the mix with Revo 24 Radio. We play it all.